2 weeks ago, I saw two very different doctors while living in El Salvador. I cannot believe the stark difference in the care compared to Canada. Can you guess which healthcare was better? Stick around to find out. Buenas tardes, mis amigos, y bendiciones para todos ustedes. Good afternoon, my friends, and blessings to you all. My name is Charity Hagenars, and bienvenido a mi canal if you're new here, y bienvenido de nuevo if we're already old amigos. Si no habla inglés, ve a la configuración de YouTube y selecciona pista de audio para escuchar este video en español, o presiona el botón CC para obtener subtítulos in Espanol. I'm going to relate my second doctor's visit first, as it applies to both men and women. In fact, my husband also had an appointment with him at the same time. Now, this doctor is in Latin America, but only does online calls, not in person. He has specific Latin American rates as well, but he treats patients from all over the world. His name is Patrick Coady from Holistic Wellness Solutions, which is at www.holisticwellness.solutions. He spent nearly an hour with me taking down all my history and what issues I wanted to address. GJ and I sat together for the part about what Patrick does and how he works. And then GJ had his own appointment after that. Because this is a holistic approach to health, there were a lot of questions besides, where does it hurt? Like your traditional doctor might ask you in the 10 to 15 minute appointment slot that you were typically given when you booked the appointment. Here's a little excerpt from Patrick's bio. Patrick is passionate about health and wellness, but his path to becoming a health coach has been a non-traditional one. He was an all-natural bodybuilder for many years, starting in his early 20s. Here he began to conduct research into diet and nutrition in order to achieve his personal goals. Additionally, Patrick has more than just a passing interest in blood as a tool for understanding the complexities that are always at play when someone has health issues. He received his introduction to functional blood chemistry analysis, that's FBCA, from Dickon Weatherby, ND, and Scott Ferguson, ND, in 2011. He then completed the FDN Advanced Module Functional Blood Chemistry Analysis training in 2013 and the Mastering Functional Lab Test Analysis from Metabolic Healing in 2016. And he believes that the FBCA is a game changer when it comes to understanding what is out of balance, how long it has been that way, what other symptoms and organs are impacted, and what level of risk exists and what the best course of action is. So Patrick also uses functional ranges to interpret hair and urine tests. You know, actually in Canada, I was thinking while I was at the doctor for like a certain thing, and then I remembered that I had an issue with another thing, they told me that I would have to book a new appointment for that other thing to discuss that other thing, even though I was already there with the doctor. I know, it's crazy. They only give you 10 to 15 minute slots. This is not how Patrick operates. Patrick is not like that, and he took the time to ask us a lot of questions to get, the whole picture. Also, he's going to send us a questionnaire on our symptoms, just like a checklist he assures us in case there was anything that we thought of after the appointment. And he'll also be getting us forms so we can go to the lab and get blood work done and, compare it to older blood work results that we happen to have with us. His expertise is analyzing the blood, so I'm really looking forward to that. He is also a health coach, so he'll guide us to getting the most optimal results. And we just started with him, but he came highly recommended to us by our friend. So he's been on many other podcasts. If you want to search him out yourself, his name is Patrick Coady from Holistic Wellness Solutions. Now, as I said, he only works remotely and his hours are very flexible. So he should be able to fit you in. And if you're in Latin America, you get a lower per hour consultation rate. Now, for the 2 appointments with us, the cost was only $80. And like I said, that's a Latin American rate, so it's more than that for other countries. In Canada, before I left, I was seeing a homeopathic doctor as well remotely, and that's been like a year since I've been to that appointment. So many doctors also run remotely. It's not a new thing, so don't feel intimidated by that. You don't have to be there in person to go over stuff like your blood test results and whatnot. So I personally love the idea of holistic health because we all know that an emotional state can impact our physical body. Now, last year we were under tremendous stress to get packed. I quit my job. We got all the documents we needed for immigrating to a new country, getting the cat's paperwork ready for the flight, booking the flights, finding the shipping company, working out the total logistics nightmare for international travel, and saying goodbye to friends and family and colleagues. It was a complete roller coaster just to leave Canada. And then you move to a new foreign country and you don't know the language, the culture, or the customs. And it's exciting and terrifying all at the same time. And all of that can take a huge toll on our physical health. Now, luckily, none of us got sick when we landed and we're staying at the Airbnb, which is pretty typical after a big move, especially if you're under a lot of stress to get, your whole family out of the country. So you can get run down and, illness can take a hold. But I was taking a whole bunch of supplements at the time. Like I said, I'd been seeing that homeopathic doctor and I brought them with me and I was really religious at taking them when we first got here, when we were staying at that Airbnb, and due to my other health issues with my asthma, I'm usually the first to get sick. So luckily I was fine and I hope to keep it that way. And after our first trip to the public healthcare system in El Salvador for my mega mosquito reaction, I've actually been in really good health in general. Even my asthma significantly improved until I ran out of the steroid inhaler that I take every day, just as we moved to this new place at the beginning of August. And it took me a little over a week or so to get the time to go out and get that replaced. And during that week, my asthma was not good, especially since our painter's sanding down the walls and all that dust was in the air for me to breathe in. That was actually really bad for my asthma. But I just got it replaced a few weeks ago and I felt better within a couple of days. The funny thing is I used to take that inhaler 2 times a day in Canada. I would take it at lunch and take it at nighttime. And I only have to take it every day here. And probably I could get away with every other day. Because when we first moved here, I didn't know if I could buy that one. So I was spacing it out as I could see the number ticking down every time I went to use it. I think I can get away with every other day, but if I have access to it, I'm going to take it as I need it. I don't want to have any episodes of bad asthma and then have to go to the hospital or something, which I've had in Canada many times. But here, my health has been really good in general with my asthma, and my emergency inhaler that I would take several times, potentially a week in Canada, I only really had to take it when I'd run out of the other one. I believe I brought 12 of those with me, and I'm either on the second or the third one in a year. Like I said, I brought a dozen because I used to get 2 a month in Canada, and I wasn't necessarily needing it that many, so I would just stockpile one kind of idea for the last year or two. So I brought a dozen with me, and I'm either on my second or my third one. It is amazing how little I need to use that now. Other people have commented on how healthy I've been looking in these videos, and even younger, which is great. Probably because we're releasing all that stress that was pent up from the move. So our emotional state definitely plays a role in our physical state. There are a lot more aspects to our health than that, but it's a good way of simplifying it. It is a whole picture. It's not just, what hurts here, and I'll address that without seeing the underlying condition about why that hurts. So if you're interested in having a consultation with Patrick, just contact him through his website. We're only just started seeing him and we'll be meeting him again the second week of September. So I'll keep you posted on how that's going. Now this part is for women only. Men, pause the video and go get your wife. Have all the men left the video now? Because I'm going to talk about my trip to an English-speaking gynecologist. So if there are still men on this video, please stop. You can skip to the part about the cost at the end if you're still interested. And if you're not married, then this may scar you for life. Be forewarned. Okay, women, you may be afraid to go to a new country, especially if you do not speak the language. But in El Salvador, many people here do speak English, especially doctors and even the veterinarians. So I was referred to this doctor. Her name is Priscilla Coto from AR&CO. She was in the Avante Hospital Especializado in Colonia Escalon. Now, I swear, if there are still men watching this part of the video and you comment about it in the comments of this video, I will publicly shame you in all my videos from now on. Okay, so in Canada, women normally get a pap test every 3 years. Now, this changed probably about 6 years ago, I'm guessing. So in 2024, my 3 years were up, but we left Canada. And I wasn't ready to venture out to have my lady parts examined by anyone. And a friend of mine told me about this doctor, and she was actually coming to El Salvador, and she made an appointment. So I thought, okay, I'll make an appointment, and I'll go see her as well. Well, turns out life happens, and my friend's plans changed, but I still went. So my appointment was at 2 p.m., but I was a bit early as I didn't want to have to search for parking and then be late. Actually, and then I learned there is free parking at the back of that place. So note to self for next appointment that I just have to park in the back. Anyway, I walked in And this is right beside the Paseo General Hospital. And there's also a diagnostic lab there. And the lady that's in the building's main reception desk took me to the door where the doctor's office was, and we rang the bell. And then the doctor's receptionist came right out to the door and took me right in to the doctor's office. There was like no waiting, like right into her office. I'm not even sure if there was a waiting room, maybe because there was a couple chairs outside her door, maybe that was it. But this is like practically unheard of in Canada. Usually you go to a doctor's office, you're waiting in the waiting room. Or if you're not waiting in the waiting room, they take you to the exam room and then you're waiting in the exam room. Like this was her office. Her desk was there, her sofa was there, her exam table was there. This is where she was. This is where she spends all her time. And I got brought right in. So that already impressed me so much. And then she took her time and took my history, and we went over why I made the appointment. So after about maybe 30 minutes or so, she did my exam and the pap test. The pap test was done in a couple of minutes. And then she recommended that I get an internal ultrasound as well to measure all my, internal parts. I let her know that menopause came and went for me. So she noted that my endometrial lining was thicker than it should be for like a postmenopause woman. And she said it could be due to many factors, hormone related, etc. But we could do a biopsy to confirm. So she took me to another room and she attempted to do the biopsy, but due to my elongated birth canal, which I didn't even know about, and the fact that I wasn't in labor and my cervix was very closed, it sort of became a two-person job. So then she recommended that I come back and do it under anesthetic as well. So we're just going to repeat this ultrasound again in November. And if it's still a concern, we're going to do the biopsy at that time under anesthesia. It was very painful, and she did attempt to do it 3 times. So I agree with the anesthesia if it's still a concern. So let's talk about costs. When I went into the appointment, I never even asked how much it was going to cost. So when she mentioned biopsy and the extra costs, I had to make sure I had enough money in my bank account because I came with just my debit card. So the appointment cost $30. The pap test was $10 and the ultrasound was $40. Now the biopsy would cost $160, which would be $100 for the procedure and $60 for the lab work, but she didn't charge me for this as it was unsuccessful. The anesthesia will cost $150 for the medicine and the personnel to administer it. So I just paid $70 in total, and I was there 2 hours. 2 hours. Can you imagine this? Even if we hadn't attempted the biopsy, it was still over an hour that I'd spent with this doctor. I think it would have taken me years to have spent that much time with my doctor in Canada, save for the times that I was in the hospital actually giving birth. People are so afraid to come to so-called third world countries because they think that they're going to get horrible medical care. I assure you, this was top notch with the most modern equipment. In fact, the chair that I had the biopsy in looked like it was from space. I have never seen such a modern piece of equipment in my life. And the doctor was completely professional. And even when I told her that I want to try to take as little medication as possible because I don't want to put chemicals in my body, she agreed with me. Usually that's unheard of too, because I did make this comment to her about big pharma and doctors getting kickbacks. She was in total agreement with me. So that was cool. She was kind and very skilled. And her husband is also a gynecologist and an oncologist. So he will help with the biopsy if it's needed in November. And the cost was so reasonable. I think about how many hundreds of dollars came off my paycheck to pay for, at best, mediocre healthcare in Canada. I think about how much I have saved by coming here, and I wasn't given the bum's rush out the door. I had my appointment on a Tuesday, and I had my results on Monday. She sent them to me on WhatsApp. This is how we've been communicating the whole time, was on WhatsApp. It was none of this, we'll only call you if the results are bad kind of thing like you get in Canada. And she explained the results to me, and they were all good, so that was fine. And she also told me at the time of the appointment that if she found anything that I needed some medication for, that she would also just send that to me in WhatsApp as well. No need to go back and get a prescription. Most drugs here, you just go to the pharmacist with or without it even written down or anything. I showed a picture of my inhaler, for example, and they looked it up and they found it and they give it to you. You only need, if I was going to get ADHD medicine for Lawrence again, I would need a prescription for that from a doctor, I was told. But every other thing we've gotten here, like even antibiotics or ivermectin or whatever, you just go to the counter and ask for it and they give it to you. Healthcare truly is much better here. In Canada, most people don't even have a family doctor. And we had the revolving door of family doctors in Canada. They kept leaving Canada, or at least leaving Ontario. And then it would take weeks or months to get appointments, especially a specialist. A few years ago, I had a bad result from a pap test, and I had no idea why. They never really explained it. But then I had to go get another one done, and it included another test like for HPV. And that appointment took months to get, from the family doctor recommended me to the gynecologist, and the gynecologist just got back to me a few weeks later for an appointment that was going to be a couple of months away. So like the whole thing is quite an ordeal in Canada. And this doctor was about to do a biopsy right there in her office. Like no waiting. It was just, that's crazy. It's totally unheard of to get anything like that in Canada that fast. And if you're concerned about not getting good healthcare here, don't be. The equipment here is modern. The doctors are well trained and skilled. Now, I'm sure if you pay for private care like I just did, then you'll get better care than in the free clinic as well, because they want to continue to have you as a patient. And I'm sure the free clinics are more pressed for time and have a lot more patients to treat, but private here doesn't mean break the bank. So don't be afraid. Healthcare here so far is 100% better than what I had in Canada. And if you want to hear about my horror stories of healthcare in Canada, watch this video. Thank you all so much for following us on our journey. Remember, if you want to be part of our WhatsApp group, just send me an email with your WhatsApp phone number at youtube@haganars.com, and I'll add you to my Ask Me Anything group. Our little group has grown to over 50 people now, so plenty of people to answer all questions pertaining to El Salvador. And remember, our call on Monday night at 7 p.m. El Salvador time. The details are in the description below. See you in the next one.
Don't forget to hit the like button.